Okay, so are you ready to dig into this whole Elon Musk endorsing the AfD thing?
Oh, yeah. I've been following this one closely.
Pretty wild, right? Definitely. I mean, even I was surprised by this one.
Like, I gotta say,
Yeah,
even I was a little taken aback.
it's definitely out there.
And you sent over a really interesting mix of like articles and social media posts about this whole thing.
Yeah, I tried to find a good mix.
Yeah, some from like the usual, the New York Times, CNN, those kinds of sources.
Yeah,
But then others a little more,
a little more spicy, shall we say.
passionate.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why we're here. We're going to try to like sift through all that noise and figure out what this endorsement really means.
That's the mission.
Not just for Germany, but like potentially for global politics.
Right. Right.
This is a big deal.
Yeah, this isn't just some guy, spouting off on Twitter.
Yeah.
This is someone with,
Yeah.
real power, real influence, and a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah, when someone like Musk wades into like another country's politics, especially one with Germany's history,
Right.
like it's gonna make waves.
Oh, yeah. It's a big deal.
Yeah. So to like understand the potential impact, we got to start with like Musk's actual statements.
Right. Go to the source.
Yeah, his op-ed in
Yes.
Welt Sonntag and that post on X. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
those were like throwing a grenade into the conversation.
Really stirred things up.
Yeah, his claim that only the AfD can save Germany.
Whoa. I mean,
Bold statement, right?
that's a pretty bold statement.
Yeah.
And then there's like his whole attempt to dismiss the AfD being right-wing extremists
Right.
by saying that, oh, Alice Weidel, their leader,
Yeah.
has a same-sex partner from Sri Lanka.
Right. Like that somehow makes the whole party okay.
Yeah. What do you make of that argument? Does that hold water?
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like on the surface, it's saying, look, they're not all bad.
Yeah.
But can one person's personal life really speak for like a whole party's ideology and actions?
Mm.
Yeah, especially when you consider that Germany's own intelligence agency has classified the AfD as like a suspected extremism case.
Right, since 2021.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just about Weidel.
Yeah.
There's a whole history there, right?
Yeah.
Like those meetings with, Austrian extreme right figures,
right.
Bjorn Hawk being convicted for using Nazi-era slogans,
Twice.
not once, but twice.
Wow.
And their youth wing being flagged by intelligence agencies, too.
Yeah, that's not a good look.
No, not really.
So like these are pretty serious red flags.
Yeah, for sure.
And it goes way beyond any one person in the party.
Exactly. It's a pattern.
So it kind of makes you wonder about like Musk's motivations for this whole endorsement.
Right. Is he just looking at the surface, or is there something more going on here?
Yeah, is this like a calculated move?
You follow German politics closely, right?
Yeah, pretty closely.
Were you surprised by the AfD's recent surge in the polls?
Honestly,
Yeah.
a little bit, yeah. But they've really tapped into like a certain segment of the population, haven't they?
For sure. And that's what Musk is praising in his op-ed, right?
Yeah.
Their understanding of economic freedom and how they could revitalize German industry,
Right.
which resonates with voters who feel like the traditional parties have forgotten about them.
Totally. And he also argues that like his significant investments in Germany, like that huge Tesla gigafactory,
Right.
gives him a stake in the country's future.
He's saying, hey, I've got skin in the game, so I get a say.
Yeah.
Which brings us to this question of like, does wealth just equal political influence
Yeah.
on a global scale? I
Yeah.
mean, is it really that simple?
Can a billionaire just throw his weight around and back a part of your candidate?
Right.
It's a big question.
It is.
And it's one that's really heating up in Germany
Oh, yeah.
because the reaction to Musk's op-ed there
Yeah.
was, shall we say, less than enthusiastic.
To put it mildly.
Yeah.
I mean, Eva Marie Kogel,
Yeah.
the opinion editor at Welt Sonntag, resigned in protest.
That's huge.
It is.
It's like, that's a pretty big statement about journalistic integrity.
Absolutely.
And then you've got other Welt journalists taking to X to like voice their disapproval.
Yeah, they were not happy.
It seems like publishing Musk's op-ed really caused a stir within the publication itself.
Yeah, a lot of internal turmoil.
And then even Jan Philip Burgard,
Right?
the editor-in-chief designated,
Yeah.
he felt the need to write a direct response.
He had to say something.
Yeah, he challenged Musk's like whole therapeutic approach to the situation.
Right.
But he did acknowledge, like, some of Musk's points about the challenges that Germany's facing.
Yeah, there are definitely some real issues there.
But this wasn't just like an internal media squabble.
Right. This went way beyond that.
Yeah, because all the other political parties in Germany,
Yeah, from left to right.
they all rejected any kind of collaboration with the AfD.
They want nothing to do with them.
Like, AfD is just this, like, divisive force in German politics.
Yeah, they're seen as being outside the acceptable spectrum of political discourse.
So we've got a really complicated situation here, right?
Yeah.
A controversial endorsement from a really powerful figure,
Right.
a far-right party that's on the rise.
Yeah, gaining momentum.
And just a whole lot of anxiety and uncertainty in Germany.
Yeah, the stakes are high.
And to add to that,
Yeah.
this isn't even Musk's first time getting involved in, like, foreign politics.
Oh, right. He's been dabbling in right-wing circles in Italy and the UK, too.
Yeah, it's like there's a pattern emerging here.
Yeah. It's definitely something to pay attention to.
It makes me think about Musk's whole, like, political involvement, you know?
Yeah, he's not exactly shy about sharing his opinions.
He's a close advisor to President-elect Trump.
Right.
And he's becoming more and more vocal on the global stage.
Yeah, his voice carries weight whether we like it or not.
So it's like this whole situation is really fascinating, right?
It is. It really is.
It's like we're seeing the growing influence of just individuals.
Especially billionaires.
You know, like Musk in shaping the global political landscape.
Right.
And that raises some big questions about, like, what are the consequences of all this concentrated wealth and power being used to push certain political agendas?
Especially when those agendas are controversial.
Yeah, or even extremist.
Right.
And all this is happening against the backdrop of a really important election in Germany.
Right. The snap election on February 23rd is right around the corner.
Yeah, the stakes are high.
They are.
And the AfD is doing really well in the polls.
They're currently in second place.
Which could totally change German and European politics.
Yeah, the ramifications could be huge.
So we've got, like, this perfect storm brewing, right?
Travolta situation.
A powerful billionaire endorsing a controversial party.
Right.
A crucial election coming up.
Yeah.
And just a ton of uncertainty about what the future holds for Germany and beyond.
It's a lot to unpack.
It is. So before we move on, did I miss anything important?
I think you covered the main points.
Okay.
But there are a few more details about the AfD's platform.
Oh, okay.
That might help us understand their appeal.
Okay, yeah, let's dig into that.
Okay.
Tell me more about their specific policies and positions.
All right, so, well, the AfD, like, really focuses on a few key issues, you know?
Okay.
And these issues really resonate with a certain part of the German population.
Got it.
Immigration's a big one.
Okay.
They've taken, like, a really hard-line stance.
Yeah.
They want stricter border controls, reduced immigration quotas.
Uh-huh.
And they're even calling for deportations in some cases.
Wow, which is a pretty big contrast to Germany's approach to immigration in, like, recent years, right?
Yeah, especially during the Syrian refugee crisis.
Right.
Germany was pretty open.
Yeah.
But that's exactly the point the AfD is trying to make.
Okay.
They say Germany has taken on too much.
Okay.
That their resources are stretched thin and that their cultural identity is being threatened.
Yeah, they're really playing on those fears.
Yeah, it's a message that appeals to those voters who are anxious about, like, social and demographic change.
Right. So if the AfD were to gain, like, real power, could we see Germany's immigration policies change dramatically?
It's definitely possible. I mean, if they become part of a coalition government, they definitely push for stricter laws.
Okay.
And a less welcoming environment for refugees and asylum seekers.
Oh, that would be a huge shift for Germany.
Yeah, it'd be a major departure from the recent history.
It could have, like, ripple effects throughout Europe.
Exactly.
Okay, what about their stance on the European Union?
Oh, yeah. They've been pretty critical of the EU.
Yeah, I remember reading something about that.
They're pretty Eurosceptic.
Yeah.
They think the EU is too bureaucratic, undemocratic, and a threat to German sovereignty.
Right.
They've even talked about Germany leaving the EU altogether.
Really?
Yeah.
But that seems unlikely, right?
Yeah, at this point it's a long shot.
Okay.
But it's still a pretty radical idea.
Yeah, especially considering how important Germany is to the EU.
Exactly.
So if the AfD gains more influence, could we see Germany start to, like, pull back from the EU?
Potentially. I mean, they could try to block further integration or push for renegotiating treaties. They could even advocate for going back to national currencies.
Wow.
And their success could encourage other Eurosceptic movements in Europe, which could ultimately weaken the EU as a whole.
It seems like the AfD is really tapping into this, like, global feeling of discontent, you know?
This is disillusionment.
People feeling like the traditional political systems aren't working.
Right.
Like globalization has left them behind and that their national identities are being eroded.
It's a complex mix of issues.
It is.
And the AfD offers these simple solutions that appeal to people who are anxious about the future.
Yeah, those simple solutions are often pretty divisive, though.
Oh, absolutely.
Which brings us back to Elon Musk.
Right.
Like, why is he so invested in the AfD?
Yeah. What's his angle?
Is it purely ideological, or is there something else going on?
That's the big question, right?
Yeah.
Some people say it's about his business interests.
Okay.
He's got that Tesla gigafactory in Germany.
Right.
Maybe he's hoping for some favorable policies from an AfD-influenced government.
Like what kinds of policies?
Less regulation, lower taxes, that sort of thing.
Oh, so a more business-friendly environment.
Exactly, which could benefit his bottom line.
Right, but others are saying that it's more ideological.
Yeah.
He's aligned with President Trump and the American right.
Right, and the AfD shares some of those populist nationalist ideas.
So maybe he sees them as like allies.
Yeah, fighting against globalism and political correctness.
You mentioned Trump.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because there are definitely some similarities between the AfD's rhetoric and like the populist messaging we've heard from Trump.
Right, and other right-wing figures.
But it's like a global trend.
Yeah.
And Musk seems to be playing a role in amplifying it.
Whether he means to or not.
Right. His actions have consequences.
For sure.
And those consequences could be huge.
Yeah.
Like his endorsement could legitimize the AfD.
Right, make them seem more acceptable.
Yeah, to voters who might have been hesitant before.
Exactly.
But on the other hand, his involvement could backfire too.
Oh, yeah.
Some voters might be turned off by his association with the far right.
Right, they might see it as proof that the AfD is dangerous.
So it's a gamble.
It is a big one.
Yeah, with the future of German politics at stake.
And the outcome could affect a lot more than just Germany.
The whole world is watching.
Exactly.
Yeah, it feels like we're at this like crossroads, you know.
It does.
Like the decisions Germany makes in this election could have huge consequences.
Yeah, a ripple effect across Europe and the world.
It really shows how interconnected everything is.
Yeah, we're not isolated anymore.
Like what happens in one country can impact everyone.
Absolutely.
And this whole thing with Musk and the AfD, it shows how much influence individuals have.
Especially billionaires.
Right, they can shape the global political landscape.
And that's something we need to think about.
Yeah.
Like, be more aware of it.
Be more critical.
Yeah, ask the tough question.
Like, what are their motives?
Right, what are the potential consequences?
Both the intended and unintended ones.
Exactly.
But before we get too big picture here, I want to bring it back to like you, the listener.
Right.
What are your takeaways from all of this?
Well, for me, it's this realization that, like, the lines between national sovereignty and individual influence are getting blurry.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like when a billionaire can basically jump into another country's politics and potentially sway an election, it makes you think about the future of democracy.
It does.
Yeah.
And it makes me wonder if this is just the start. You know?
Yeah.
Are we going to see more billionaires backing these controversial figures?
It's a trend to watch for sure.
Yeah, especially with all the uncertainty in politics these days.
Absolutely.
So after this deep dive, what's like the bottom line?
Well, I think it's clear that Musk's endorsement of the AfD has like really shaken things up in Germany.
Definitely.
It's caused controversy, resignations.
Yeah.
And it's sparked this debate about the role of wealth and influence in our political system.
So will it help or hurt the AfD in the election?
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it's up to the German voters.
Right. They'll decide on February 23rd.
But one thing's for sure, this whole situation has highlighted the connection between technology, wealth, and politics.
It really has.
In our increasingly interconnected world.
It's a lot to think about.
It is.
So as we move forward,
yeah,
it's important to stay informed.
Absolutely.
Have these discussions.
And hold those in power accountable.
Because the future is being shaped right now.
And every voice matters.
Well said. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.